The night I sold my company, a young waiter stopped me outside the dining room and whispered, "Sir, whatever you do, don't drink from your glass." I thought he had mistaken me for another customer. Then he told me he had watched my only daughter empty a packet of white powder into my wine while her husband distracted me. I returned to the table pretending I knew nothing. 15 minutes later, the wrong person collapsed. My son-in-law did not call for an ambulance. He tried to carry his unconscious wife through the restaurant kitchen before anyone could examine her. By sunrise, I would discover that they had already packed my late wife's clothes, reserved a room for me in a memory care facility, and prepared a message telling our relatives that I could no longer recognize my own family. They were not simply planning to take my money. My daughter had decided I no longer deserved a voice. My name is Daniel Bennett. I am 67 years old, and until that Friday night, I believed betrayal had limits. I believed that no matter how selfish or desperate a child became, there was an invisible line she could not cross with the father who had raised her. I was wrong. 3 hours before that dinner, I had sold Table and Time, the meal preparation company my late wife Claire and I had built over 32 years. The final sale price was $9.4 million. It was not lottery money. It was my marriage converted into a bank transfer. Claire and I began with 2 used refrigerators, a borrowed church kitchen, and a station wagon that smelled permanently of onions. I was working maintenance at a public high school outside Columbus, Ohio. Claire was a receptionist at a medical clinic and the best home cook I had ever met. The idea began with one of our elderly neighbors, Mrs. Alvarez. After surgery on both hands, she could no longer safely prepare her own meals. Claire started bringing her soup casseroles and small containers of cut fruit. Mrs. Alvarez told another neighbor. That neighbor told her sister. Within 6 months, Claire and I were preparing 40 meals every Sunday afternoon. She cooked. I labeled containers, washed pans, and drove. Claire named the service Table and Time because she believed food should make people feel as though they still belonged at someone's table. Our borrowed kitchen became a rented storefront. The storefront became 4 neighborhood kitchens. We began delivering to recovering patients, office workers, public schools, and older residents living alone. By the time I sold the company, 73 people depended on it for their livelihoods. The business paid for our modest brick bungalow in Worthington. It paid for our daughter Paige's college tuition. It paid for her first car, her wedding, and part of the down payment on the house she shared with her husband, Logan Mercer. The business gave us a stable life. It also cost us things. There were family dinners I arrived late to because a delivery van broke down. There were weekends when Claire missed church because a refrigerator failed. There were evenings when Paige sat at the kitchen table doing homework, while her mother prepared invoices and I called suppliers. Once when Paige was 10, I missed most of her spring recital because one of our drivers had been involved in an accident. No one was badly injured, but by the time I reached the school, the performance was over. Paige stood in the lobby wearing a yellow costume and glitter around her eyes. Claire had bought her a candy bar from the vending machine and was trying to make her laugh. When Paige saw me, she turned her face away. "I saved you a seat," she said. I apologized all the way home. She did not answer. Years later, whenever she wanted to remind me how much the company had taken from her, she brought up the yellow costume. She was not entirely wrong. That mattered. It did not excuse what she eventually did. Claire died 4 years before the sale. Pancreatic cancer took her 11 months after the diagnosis. She had spent most of her life taking care of everyone else. Cancer was the first thing I could not help her carry. After she died, I remained in the bungalow where we had raised Paige. Claire's blue cardigan still hung on the hook inside our bedroom closet. Her chipped teacup remained in the kitchen cabinet. Her gardening gloves were folded inside a basket near the back door. Her reading glasses rested on the small table beside her favorite chair. I knew she was gone. Keeping those things did not mean I expected her to return. They reminded me that she had been here. Paige never understood the difference. "You're living inside a museum, Dad," she told me one afternoon. She was standing at the kitchen looking at Claire's teacup. "I'm living inside my house. You still buy Mom's tea. I like it now." You used to say it tasted like boiled flowers. I got used to it. You talk about her as if she's still in the next room. Sometimes it feels like she is. Paige's expression changed. Not sadness. Concern. At least that was what I thought it was then. That isn't healthy. Missing your mother isn't an illness. I didn't say it was. You looked as though you wanted to. She sighed. You get defensive every time I try to help. That sentence would become one of her favorites. You get defensive. You seem confused. We're worried about you. At the time, I thought she was grieving differently. Later, I realized she had learned how easily grief could be renamed decline. Paige had been a loving child. I need that understood. She was not born cruel. When she was 6, she used to hide notes inside my lunchbox. Have a good day, Dad. Don't forget my soccer game. I love you more than pizza. When she was 17, she worked one summer at Table and Time. Claire gave her a child-sized green apron left over from a school event. I wrote Paige assistant boss across the front with a black marker. Paige washed pans labeled soup containers and carried meals into the homes of customers who could no longer cook for themselves. She complained about her feet. She flirted with one of the delivery boys. She also stayed late one night to sit with an elderly customer whose dog had died. There was kindness in her. There still may be. But over the years, something inside her hardened. Perhaps it began with the belief that Table and Time had stolen time that should have belonged to her. Perhaps it grew when she married a man who treated every resentment like an investment opportunity. Logan Mercer owned a residential remodeling company called Mercer Modern Living. The name sounded successful. The business was mostly glossy online videos, leased equipment, delayed projects, and unpaid suppliers. Logan was handsome in a polished, intentional way. His beard was always trimmed. His work boots were always too clean for a man who claimed to spend his days on construction sites. He remembered the names of wealthy clients and forgot the names of servers before they left the table. Claire distrusted him from their first dinner in our home. Paige had been dating him for 4 months when she brought him over for roast chicken. He had barely finished eating before he began looking around our dining room. "You could remove this wall," he said. Claire glanced up. "Why would we do that?" "Open the kitchen, extend 12 feet into the backyard, update the flooring. You'd add at least $200,000 to the house." "I like the wall," Claire said. Logan laughed as though she were joking. "I'm only talking about the property's potential." Claire rested her fork on her plate. Not everything needs to become something else. The conversation moved on. Later, after Paige and Logan left, Claire stood at the front window watching his truck disappear. What I asked? That boy appraised our home before he finished his potatoes. He remodels houses. He calculates people. You barely know him. I know enough. Paige is happy. She thinks she is. I became irritated. You've been suspicious of every man she's dated. No. I disliked one who cheated on her and another who borrowed her car and returned it empty. This is different. How? Claire turned toward me. He doesn't look at our daughter and see Paige. He sees what being married to Paige may eventually give him. You got all that from dinner. I got it from the way he asked whether we owned the building on Broad Street. He was interested in the business. He was interested in its value. You're being unfair. Claire did not argue. She simply said, he doesn't want to build a life, Daniel. He wants to move into one somebody else already built. For years, I believed she had judged him too harshly. After Claire died, Logan began asking me for money. There was always an explanation. A homeowner delayed payment. A supplier delivered the wrong cabinets. A subcontractor disappeared. A renovation uncovered damaged plumbing. The first time I lent them $20,000. The second time I paid a credit card balance Paige said had been used for emergency repairs. The third time I covered 2 mortgage payments while Logan waited for a commercial project to begin. That project never appeared. The loans were rarely repaid. Whenever I mentioned them, Paige became defensive. You know we're good for it. I'm only asking when you expect to repay me. Logan is under enormous pressure. Your mother and I were under pressure for 30 years. That's different. It was always different when the responsibility belonged to someone else. Still, I helped. After losing Claire, even a call asking for money felt better than silence. I knew Paige contacted me more often when she needed something. I chose not to examine that too closely. 6 months before the sale, a local business publication reported that Table and Time was in talks with a regional hospitality company. The article estimated the deal could be worth several $1,000,000. Paige suddenly became attentive. She called every morning. She brought groceries I had not requested. She came over to organize cabinets and asked whether I was sleeping. At first I was touched. Then her questions changed. Did I know where my financial records were? Was anyone else authorized to speak with my bank? Had I considered adding her to my accounts for emergencies? What would happen if I fell? What would happen if I signed something without understanding it? You sound as though you expect me to collapse tomorrow, I told her. I'm trying to think ahead. I'm 67. People change quickly at your age. At my age, you know what I mean. I did not. Around that time, small incidents began occurring. Paige arranged lunch for a Thursday and did not appear. When I called, she insisted we had agreed on Wednesday. She forwarded a screenshot that seemed to prove it. The original message on my phone still said Thursday. When I pointed that out, she became very quiet. Maybe you changed it. Why would I change a message? I don't know, Dad. That's what concerns me. At Easter dinner, Logan asked me the same question about the company sale 3 times. When I finally became irritated, he exchanged a worried look with Paige. What I asked? Nothing, Paige said. I saw that. You've been short-tempered lately. He repeated the same question. No, he didn't. I looked around the table. My sister-in-law, Linda, lowered her eyes. Paige's godmother, Marlene, suddenly became interested in her napkin. No one wanted to become involved. Later, I discovered Paige had been telling relatives I was having little episodes. She claimed I had left the stove burning. I had not. She claimed I had forgotten a family dinner. She had changed the location without telling me. She claimed I had called Logan by my late wife's name. That never happened. When relatives said I appeared normal, Paige had an explanation. He has good days. He hides it well. He gets worse when he's tired. He becomes defensive when he feels watched. Every possible reaction proved her story. If I denied being confused, I lacked insight. If I became angry, I was unstable. If I asked for privacy, I was paranoid. That is how gaslighting works. It does not begin by asking you to believe something impossible. It begins by making you uncertain about what happened yesterday. I should have confronted her. Instead, I chose the explanation that hurt less. Paige had lost her mother. Perhaps she was frightened of losing me. Perhaps Claire's death had made her see danger where there was none. I wanted that to be true. The sale officially closed on a Friday afternoon in October. Shortly after 4, the buyer's financial office confirmed that the funds had been transferred. I was sitting in Claire's chair when the call ended. For several minutes, I did not move. 32 years of work had left my hands in less time than it took to brew coffee. The money brought relief. It also brought a loneliness so sharp that I reached toward the empty cushion beside me. We did it, I whispered. I imagined Claire telling me not to become sentimental until we understood the tax bill. That evening, Paige and Logan took me to Juniper and Ash, an expensive restaurant overlooking the Scioto River. Paige wore a cream-colored dress and the pearl earrings Claire had given her on her wedding day. Logan stood when I arrived. There he is, he announced. The $9 million man. 2 nearby diners looked toward us. Please don't announce the amount to the room. Logan smiled. Relax, Daniel. Nobody here is planning to rob you. Paige laughed. Later that joke would return to me. A bottle of red wine had already been opened. 3 glasses waited on the table. Paige raised hers. To Mom. That disarmed me. To Claire, Logan added. To the woman who would have ordered the least expensive entree and then complained that I chose something cheaper, I said. For one brief second, Paige's expression softened. Her eyes filled with real tears. That moment mattered. It reminded me that she was not empty. She still loved her mother. She had simply allowed resentment and fear to become louder than love. We drank. Then Logan began asking questions. When is the money fully available? The transfer is complete. All of it is in one account. Number. Why not? Because I have an accountant who understands money better than I do. Paige leaned closer. We talked about simplifying things. You talked. I listened. Multiple accounts become confusing. They are not confusing to me. Logan smiled patiently. No one is questioning your ability. You just questioned it. We're trying to help. Our waiter approached with the appetizers. His name was Caleb Ruiz. He looked young enough to still be in college. Dark hair kept falling across his forehead, and he pushed it back each time Paige complained about something. The water was not cold enough. The table was too close to the service station. The lighting made the menu difficult to read. Caleb apologized and offered solutions. Paige reacted as though every inconvenience were a deliberate insult. Claire used to say you could learn everything important about someone by watching how they treated a person who could not improve their life. Paige had once been kind to servers. Logan had taught her to treat them like scenery. Halfway through the meal, Logan mentioned an opportunity. His company had a chance to renovate several houses in a new development. It could put Mercer Modern Living on the map, he said. How much do you need? Paige looked surprised by my directness. Logan answered, $400,000 to begin. I set down my fork. You want me to lend you $400,000? Invest. Do you own the properties? Not yet. Do you have signed buyers? That isn't how development works. Do you have enough money to finish if sales are delayed? His smile tightened. Daniel, I have been doing this for 12 years, and asking me for money for 6. Paige's expression hardened. Dad, it is true. You promised not to humiliate him. I didn't realize refusing $400,000 counted as humiliation. We came here to celebrate you. No, you came here to ask for money while I was emotional. That's unfair. Would we be sitting here if the company had sold for nothing? Neither of them answered. Then Paige used the weapon she knew would reach me. Mom would have helped us. I stared at her. You do not get to use your dead mother as a signature on a check. Her eyes flashed. I knew her too. Then you know she would have asked the same questions. She trusted family. She expected family to behave responsibly. Logan leaned back. There it is. What? The businessman. Everything has to be earned, documented, and justified. You are asking for nearly $500,000. This is why Paige worries about you. The shift was so smooth that it took me a moment to register it. What does declining your proposal have to do with my health? You're becoming suspicious. Of a man asking me for $400,000. Paige reached across the table and touched my wrist. Dad, lower your voice. My voice is not raised. People are looking. You brought up the money. My phone rang. The buyer's office needed confirmation about an employee retirement account. I stood. I have to take this. As I walked toward the lobby, I saw Logan point through the windows toward the river. Paige and I both turned. At the time, I thought he was showing us a boat moving beneath the bridge. The call lasted less than 4 minutes. When I turned back toward the dining room, Caleb stood in my path. His hands were shaking. Mr. Bennett. Yes, I need to tell you something. He glanced toward my table. His face had lost all color. When Mr. Mercer pointed toward the windows, your daughter took something from her purse. What? She had a folded packet. She opened it beneath the table and poured white powder into your wine. For several seconds, I heard nothing but the restaurant music. My daughter. Yes, sir. Are you certain it was my glass? Yours is closest to the aisle. Hers is against the wall. Did Logan see her? He distracted you. When you turned away, he nodded. I looked through the opening beside the service station. Paige and Logan sat silently. They were watching the hallway, waiting for me. Why are you telling me? Caleb swallowed. My grandmother raised me. After she had surgery, one of her relatives tried to convince everyone she couldn't live alone. They wanted her house. He glanced down. I don't know what your daughter used, but I couldn't let you drink it. Did anyone else see? I don't think so. Is there a camera? It catches part of the table, but the divider blocks her hand. Should I call the police? Not yet. His eyes widened. You cannot drink it. I won't. What are you going to do? I looked at my daughter. I need to understand what they expect that drink to do. I returned to the table. Paige smiled immediately. Everything okay? Yes. The transfer. Complete. Logan raised his glass. Then we should celebrate properly. I sat down and looked at my wine. It appeared completely normal. Dark red. Still, danger often looks ordinary when it comes from someone you trust. I did not touch it. Paige noticed. Aren't you drinking? In a minute. You barely had any. Why does that matter? It doesn't. Her answer came too quickly. Logan began discussing construction costs. Paige watched my hand. When Caleb returned carrying our entrees, I lifted my jacket from the empty chair beside me. The sleeve caught the edge of my water glass. It tipped. Water rushed across the white tablecloth toward Logan's lap. He jumped backward. For God's sake, I'm sorry. Caleb set down the plates and grabbed cloths. Paige stood to protect her dress. Logan cursed about his custom trousers. For several seconds, the table became a confusion of hands, napkins, plates, and apologies. I moved both wine glasses away from the spill, mine with my right hand, Paige's with my left. When I placed them back, their positions had changed. The movement took less than 2 seconds. Caleb saw it. No one else did. Logan wiped his pants. You've been dropping things constantly. I knocked over one glass. You dropped your keys last week. I was carrying groceries. Paige gave him a meaningful look. They believed the drug was already working. They thought my clumsiness was proof of the story they had been building. I raised Paige's clean glass. One more toast. They both lifted theirs. Paige held the wine intended for me. To family, I said. To family, she repeated. And to receiving exactly what our choices earn us. Logan laughed. I'll drink to that. Paige took a long sip. The next 15 minutes felt endless. Logan talked about his development. Paige asked whether I had considered selling my bungalow. I live there, for now, for as long as I choose. The bathroom setup isn't ideal. There is a bathroom downstairs. You shouldn't wait for a crisis. I looked at her glass. She had consumed almost half. What crisis are you expecting? Her expression flickered. Nothing specific. You seem prepared. Dad stopped looking for hidden meanings in everything. A few minutes later, Paige blinked hard. She placed one hand against her forehead. The lights are strange. Logan frowned. What? They're moving. His fork stopped halfway to his mouth. His eyes dropped to her glass. Then mine. Then the wet tablecloth. Understanding entered his face. Paige. She tried to answer. Her words came out thick. I don't feel... Her hand struck the plate. A knife fell to the floor. Several diners turned. Logan stood quickly. We're leaving. Paige attempted to rise. Her knees failed. She collapsed sideways against the cushioned bench, her head striking the wall. A woman at the next table gasped. Caleb rushed toward us. Ma'am. Paige's arms began jerking. Her eyes fluttered and rolled backward. I stood. Oh my God, call an ambulance. Number. Logan moved between Caleb and the table. She's fine. She is unconscious. She mixed alcohol with anxiety medication. What medication? He ignored me. He grabbed Paige beneath one arm. We'll take her home. Her body sagged. Do not move her, Caleb said. Logan turned on him. You stay out of this. The restaurant manager approached. What happened? My wife drank too much. She had less than one glass, I said. Logan glared at me. You don't know what she drank before dinner. I arrived before the bottle was opened. His expression changed. For a moment, the charm vanished. I saw the man Claire had warned me about. Not confident. Cornered. Caleb lifted his phone. I already called 911. Logan stepped toward him. You had no right. She's having a medical emergency. You have no idea what you've done. Sirens sounded outside. Logan turned toward me. His gaze dropped to the wine glasses. He leaned close enough that only I could hear him. You switched them. I allowed confusion into my face. What are you talking about? The glasses. My daughter is unconscious. You knew. I know she drank wine. His fingers closed around my arm. You are not as confused as you pretend to be. The sentence confirmed everything. He was not merely aware of Paige's story. He had helped create it. Let go of me. He released my arm as the paramedics entered. They assessed Paige, placed oxygen beneath her nose, and transferred her onto a stretcher. One paramedic asked what medications she used. Logan could not name them. Something for anxiety. Which medication? I don't remember. Which doctor prescribed it? That is private. It matters if you want us to treat her safely. The paramedic placed Paige's purse on the stretcher. Logan reached for it. I'll carry that. It stays with the patient. His panic deepened. I followed them outside. Rain had begun falling. Red emergency lights swept across the restaurant windows. As they loaded Paige into the ambulance, Logan pulled me aside. What did you do? Why do you keep asking me that? That drink wasn't hers. The words escaped before he could stop them. I looked directly at him. Then whose was it? His face went still. A paramedic called his name. He climbed into the ambulance without answering. Caleb came outside holding my coat. You forgot this. Thank you. Are you all right? Number. It was the first entirely honest thing I had said since he stopped me in the lobby. I told my manager what I saw. He said. He saved the footage. Good. My grandmother says the worst person in a crisis should never be the only person telling the story. I studied him. Your grandmother sounds wise. She's also terrifying. Despite everything, I almost smiled. At Riverside Hospital, Paige was rushed behind swinging doors. Logan paced the waiting area while I sat with my hands folded around my coat. Every few minutes he looked at me. I let my shoulders sag. I stared at the floor as though I could barely understand where I was. If he believed I knew everything, he would become careful. If he believed I remained frightened and confused, he might reveal what came next. What happened at the table, he finally asked. I knocked over water. After that, Paige became sick. You moved the glasses. I moved everything away from the spill. Which glass did you pick up? I don't remember. His expression softened with relief. You don't remember. It happened quickly. He crouched in front of me. This is exactly what Paige has been worried about. What does my memory have to do with her collapsing? You've been overwhelmed. My daughter is unconscious, and we will take care of her. But someone needs to take care of you too. His voice was gentle. That made it worse. True cruelty does not always shout. Sometimes it places a hand on your shoulder and calls control protection. A doctor named Priya Shah entered 20 minutes later. Mr. Bennett, I stood. How is my daughter? She is breathing on her own. Her condition is serious, but she is stable. What happened? We found dangerous amounts of 2 prescription sedating medications in her system. Combined with alcohol, they can cause severe confusion, memory loss, loss of coordination, low blood pressure, and unconsciousness. Logan spoke quickly. She takes anxiety medication. Not according to the medication list in her record. Maybe another doctor prescribed it. Which doctor? I don't know. The amount in her system is not consistent with accidentally taking 1 extra tablet. What are you suggesting? I am saying we need to determine how she ingested it. She made a mistake. Possibly, she has been under stress. Dr. Shah looked at him. Because of the amount involved, hospital security will be notified. That is unnecessary. It is standard. I'm her husband. I don't consent. She is unconscious and may have been deliberately drugged. Your consent is not required. Logan's jaw tightened. I allowed tears to fill my eyes. Please save her. Dr. Shah's expression softened. We are treating her. When she wakes, she may be confused and may not remember what happened. Logan immediately said, she has been having memory problems. I looked at him. He quickly added, from stress. After the doctor left, Logan walked into the hallway with his phone. I waited before following. He stood near a vending machine with his back to me. She drank it, he whispered. I stopped behind a recessed doorway. No, I don't know how. The old man knocked over the water. The old man. Not Daniel. Not his wife's father. The old man. He listened. The entire plan is falling apart. Another pause. The papers aren't signed. My heart began pounding. He was supposed to become confused before we took him home. Paige was supposed to calm him down and get the signatures. He struck the wall with the side of his fist. The room is already reserved. The movers come Monday. We cannot cover another month of bills if this collapses. The room, the movers, the papers. He lowered his voice. If Daniel goes home, I need the blue folder before he calls anyone. Paige said it's in Claire's desk. I pressed one hand over my mouth. This had not been a desperate decision after I refused the loan. They had prepared everything. The drug was meant to disorient me. Paige would take me home. She would hold my hand, place a form in front of me, and tell me it was for my protection. By the time the fog cleared, my relatives would believe their story. The movers would already be inside my house. Logan ended the call. Before he returned, I stepped into the restroom. The man in the mirror looked older than he had that morning, but he did not look confused. He looked wounded. There is a difference. When I returned, Logan was waiting. I need to go home, I said. His eyes sharpened. Why? I can't sit here. You should rest. I want my own bed. Do you feel safe driving? Number. That was what he wanted to hear. I'll order you a car. Thank you. Go straight home. I will. And do not call your accountant or anyone from the company. Why? You're upset. You could say things people misunderstand. He was isolating me. I lowered my eyes. All right. He walked me to the hospital entrance and hugged me. His body was rigid. We'll take care of everything, he whispered. I believed him. That was exactly what he intended to do. The car pulled away shortly after midnight. I gave the driver my home address. Then I changed my mind. Please take me to Broad Street first. The original table and time kitchen was dark when I arrived. I still had access during the ownership transition. Inside, the familiar smell of bread detergent and roasted vegetables surrounded me. For the first time that night, I could breathe. This was where Claire and I had worked 18-hour days, where Paige had washed pans as a teenager, where employees had celebrated birthdays, mourned parents, and borrowed money from one another until payday. Nothing in that building had ever pretended to be something it was not. I locked myself inside my former office and called Marcus Hill. Marcus had worked with me for 26 years. He began as a delivery driver and eventually became operations manager. He answered on the fourth ring. Daniel, I'm sorry to wake you. What happened? No complaint. No hesitation. He heard my voice and knew. I need help. Where are you? Broad Street. I'm coming. You don't know what happened. I'll know when I get there. He arrived 20 minutes later, wearing sweatpants, work boots, and an Ohio State jacket over his pajamas. His wife, Denise, came with him carrying a blanket and a thermos. Denise placed the blanket around my shoulders without asking. Marcus sat across from me. Tell us. I told them everything. Caleb, the wine, the hospital, the phone call, the room, the movers, the blue folder. When I finished, Denise was crying. Marcus's face had become very still. Do they have keys to your house? Yes. The alarm code? Yes. Does Paige know your security questions? Most of them. He stood. We change everything tonight. I need to see the house first. Daniel, if Logan is there, I need to know what they already did. Marcus studied me. Then he nodded. We go together. The porch light was on when we reached my bungalow. I had turned it off before dinner. Inside the kitchen, a stack of flattened moving boxes leaned beside the pantry. Blue labels sat on the counter. Keep. Donate. Storage. The handwriting was Paige's. We entered the living room. Claire's chair was gone. The empty space stopped me. A pale square remained on the rug, where it had stood for nearly 20 years. Her reading lamp had been unplugged. 3 sealed boxes sat beneath the family photographs. One was labeled, Claire Donate. I opened it. Her blue cardigan lay on top. Beneath it were her gardening sweater, summer dresses, slippers, scarves, and the plaid robe she had worn during her final Christmas. Under the robe, I found something smaller, a stained green apron, the child-sized apron Paige had worn during the summer she worked at Table and Time. Across the front in my own handwriting were the words, Paige Assistant Boss. She had packed that too. Not only her mother's clothing, her own childhood with Claire. I held the apron against my chest. For one desperate moment, I wanted to call Paige. I wanted her to tell me there had been a misunderstanding. I wanted her to say she had packed everything because the roof was leaking, or because she planned to clean the closet. Anything. I took out my phone. Then Denise found the brochure on the dining room table. Willow Creek Memory Living. A yellow note was attached. Deposit paid. Intake, Monday 10 a.m. Inside, someone had completed a short resident profile. Name Daniel Bennett. Reason for placement, cognitive decline, and unsafe independent living. Primary family contact, Paige Mercer. Known emotional triggers. Questions about deceased wife. I lowered the phone. My 41-year marriage had been converted into a symptom. Beside the brochure sat a single authorization form, allowing Paige to manage my household bills during a temporary medical emergency. A blue pen lay beside the signature line. They did not need a complicated lawsuit. They did not need a courtroom. They needed me frightened, drugged, and trusting my daughter for 5 minutes. By the time I woke, clearly the family would believe their story. The movers would already be inside my home. Denise discovered a printed draft of a social media post. After a difficult few months, our family has made the loving decision to help Dad transition into a safer environment. Dementia changes people, but it cannot erase the love we have for them. Please keep our family in your prayers as we begin this heartbreaking journey. A photograph was attached. Paige stood beside me on the front porch, one arm around my shoulders. She had brought me a pie that day and asked for a picture. In the image, she looked protective. I looked tired. She had prepared the public announcement of my disappearance before I knew I was being removed. My passport was missing from the bedroom. So were several personal files. The blue folder Logan wanted was not there. I had moved it to a safe deposit box months earlier because Claire always insisted important documents should not all remain in one house. At the time, I called her overly cautious. That night, her caution felt like a hand reaching back through time to protect me. We found her chair in the garage beneath a plastic sheet. Marcus carried it inside. I wiped the wooden arms and placed Claire's reading glasses back on the table beside it. Then I sat down. The house looked more like itself. I did not. The landline rang at 2:27 in the morning. It was Logan. Daniel. Yes. Did you get home? I think so. You think so? I'm tired. Is anyone with you? Number. Relief entered his voice. Good. You need to lie down. I can't find Claire's chair. A pause. You probably moved it. I don't remember. That's okay. His voice became soft. Tonight was traumatic. Your memory may be unreliable. Where is Paige? She's resting. Can I speak to her? Not yet. Is she alive? Yes. Did she take something? We don't know. The doctor said medication. Doctors speak before they have all the facts. I looked at the Willow Creek brochure. Logan, am I sick? Silence. Then he answered gently. We're worried that you might be. The kindness in his voice almost made me sick. What kind of sick? You've been forgetting things. Paige said that. She's frightened. Did I hurt her? Another pause. You became confused at dinner. What did I do? You knocked things over. You became agitated. Did I touch her? You may not remember everything. He was building the lie while she lay in a hospital bed. I should go to sleep. Yes. Will you come tomorrow? I'll come sooner. I want to check on you. When? In about an hour. What about Paige? She has doctors, and I have no one. You have me. I closed my eyes. Leave the back door unlocked, he said. Why? In case you fall asleep. All right. And do not call anyone. You need rest, not people confusing you with questions. Okay. He hung up. Marcus looked furious. We call the police. First we let him enter. Daniel, the cameras record. We had installed 2 cameras after packages disappeared the previous Christmas. One faced the driveway. The other captured the mudroom and hallway leading toward Claire's desk. We left the back door unlocked exactly as Logan requested. Then we returned to Broad Street and watched the camera feed. At 3:19, Logan's truck entered the driveway. He came through the back door without calling my name. He checked the papers on the dining room table. Then he hurried upstairs. He opened Claire's desk, searched drawers, lifted one side of the mattress, opened the closet. Finally, he called Paige. To my surprise, she answered. Her voice was weak but clear enough through the camera microphone. Logan, where is the blue folder? I don't know. You said it was in the desk. It was. It isn't here. My head hurts. Forget your head. We need that folder. Paige began crying. You said it wouldn't hurt him. It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. I couldn't move. I thought I was dying, but you didn't. I'm in the hospital, and if we don't fix this, we lose everything. There was silence. Then Paige asked, Did Dad drink any? Number. How? He switched the glasses. He knows. He's acting confused. Maybe he doesn't understand. He knows something. What do? We continue. How? We tell them he gave you the medication. Number. Yes. That wasn't the plan. The plan is gone. He's my father. And I'm your husband. Paige did not answer. Logan's voice hardened. You choose right now. I leaned closer to the screen. My daughter whispered, I choose us. Those 3 words ended every excuse I had been trying to create for her. Logan closed his eyes. Good. Tell the hospital you remember your father behaving strangely. Say he moved the glasses. Say you don't know what he gave you. What about the waiter? I'll handle him. What does that mean? He's a kid. He'll get scared. No, Logan. I said I'll handle him. We saved the recording and called the police. 2 officers met us at Broad Street. The restaurant manager had already reported Caleb's account. The hospital had preserved Paige's blood samples. The recording showed Logan entering my home and discussing the plan with my daughter. Sergeant Daniels watched it twice. Mr. Bennett, do you feel safe returning home? Not alone. Do not meet your son-in-law privately. I won't. We will speak with your daughter at the hospital. Will she be arrested? We need to investigate. She is my daughter. Sergeant Daniels looked at me carefully. You can love someone and still tell the truth about what they did. At sunrise, I returned home with Marcus Denise and a locksmith. We changed the locks. The act took less than an hour. The meaning of it would stay with me forever. For most of her life, Paige had never needed permission to enter my home. Changing the locks meant admitting that the child I had once carried through those rooms had become someone I needed protection from. My phone filled with messages. Logan had posted to the family group. Terrible news. Paige was poisoned at dinner. Daniel is missing and appears to be experiencing a severe mental health crisis. Please do not contact him directly. Medical professionals and law enforcement are involved. I was sitting in my own living room reading that I was missing. Claire's sister Linda called. Daniel, where are you? Home. Logan said the police were searching for you. The police know where I am. What happened? Paige put medication in my wine. Linda stopped breathing for a moment. What? I switched the glasses. Oh my God. Logan is telling everyone I poisoned her. He sent us a message. I know. What do you need? The question surprised me. Not, are you sure? Not, what should I believe? What do you need? I need every message Paige and Logan sent about me. I'll forward them. And I need you at my house Sunday afternoon. Why? Because Paige and Logan planned a family intervention. They can't still expect. They do not know how much I heard. What are you going to do? I'm going to let them tell their story. The messages began arriving. Paige had created a group called Helping Dad 3 months earlier. She included Linda, 2 cousins, Claire's brother Robert, Paige's godmother Marlene, and several nieces and nephews. Dad forgot our lunch again. Dad left the stove on. Dad becomes angry when we question his memory. Dad thinks people are trying to take his money. Please don't confront him. Paranoia can make him aggressive. When relatives said I appeared normal, Paige responded, he has lucid periods. He hides it well. He gets worse at night. My niece Hannah had asked, has a doctor actually diagnosed him? Paige removed Hannah from the group. The final messages were sent before dinner. Paige, tonight may be difficult. Please keep your phones nearby. Logan and I are taking Dad out to celebrate, then bringing him home for a serious conversation. Linda, does he know about Willow Creek? Paige, not yet. He'll resist, but we have to stay united. Logan, by morning the situation should be much clearer. He had written those words knowing what Paige planned to put in my wine. I visited Paige at the hospital later that day. A police officer sat outside her room. Paige lay against white pillows, pale and exhausted. For one dangerous moment, paternal instinct overwhelmed everything. I wanted to smooth her hair. I wanted to tell her we would fix it. When she was 7, she broke her wrist, falling from a swing. I had sat beside her hospital bed and promised she would be fine. Part of me wanted to become that father again. Then she opened her eyes. Dad, how do you feel? Terrible. The doctor said you were fortunate. She glanced toward the hallway. Where's Logan? I don't know. He said he was coming back. Do you remember dinner? Not much. Do you remember putting something in my wine? Her eyes filled immediately. Dad, do you? I don't know what happened. The waiter saw you. Maybe he was mistaken. The medication was inside you. I might have taken something accidentally. From a packet you emptied into my glass. She turned away. I waited. I had hoped nearly dying from her own plan might make lying impossible. Instead, she continued. Logan said you were behaving strangely. How? He said you knocked things over and switched the glasses. Did he tell you to say that? Number. You spoke to him at 3:19 this morning. Her face became still. What? He called you from my bedroom. I don't know what you mean. You said you chose him. Her breathing quickened. You recorded us. My house recorded Logan. Fear entered her face. Not guilt. Fear of consequences. You don't understand, she whispered. Then explain. Logan's company is in trouble. How much trouble? He owes almost $600,000. To whom? Suppliers, lenders, people he knows. And you believed my money should pay it. It would have been temporary. You asked for $400,000. That was only the first amount. How much did you expect? She whispered, enough. Enough to save your house. Yes, then sell your house. Her head snapped toward me. We built our life there. So did your mother and I. It's different. No. You believed your home mattered more because it belonged to you, she cried. Logan said you were going to give most of the sale money away. I gave bonuses to employees. You gave strangers money while your daughter was drowning. The people you call strangers helped build the company that paid for your education, your wedding, your first car, and your house. You missed things because of that company. There it was, the old wound. You missed my recital. I know. You forgot to pick me up from camp. The delivery van broke down. There was always a delivery van. Always a customer. Always an employee who needed you. I'm sorry for the times you felt second. Felt second. Her voice rose. I was second. That pain was real. She stared at me. But it did not give you the right to drug me. Her face crumpled. I thought the money was partly mine. Why? Because I paid for it too. With a missed recital. With my childhood. The answer was ugly. But for the first time it was honest. You believed the sale was compensation. I believed Mom would have wanted me secure. Your mother wanted you capable. She never would have let us lose our house. She would have told you to sell the truck, cancel the vacations, and stop spending money you didn't have. You don't know that. I was married to her for 41 years. She looked away. Logan said the medication would only make you sleepy and confused for a few hours. He said once you signed the temporary form, we could move enough money to stop everything from collapsing. Then we would repay it. And Willow Creek, only for a little while. You packed my house for a little while. We were trying to make it easier. You packed your mother's clothes into a donation box. She began sobbing. I couldn't look at them. So you decided I shouldn't either. I didn't think. No. You did think. You simply thought only about what made your plan easier. She reached toward me. I moved back. I'm your daughter. A daughter does not pour powder into her father's wine. He pressured me. You still opened the packet. I didn't know how strong it was. You knew why you were using it. She had no answer. You chose him, I said. He is my husband. I was your father. Her face collapsed. Was. I did not soften the word. A father can love his daughter and still refuse to be destroyed by her. Are you going to help the police put me in jail? The police will decide what happens. You can help me. I have spent your adult life helping consequences miss you. Dad, please. Number. The word was quiet. It did not need to be louder. Sunday at 2, I said. The family is coming. Why? You wanted an intervention. What are you going to tell them? The truth. Logan will explain. I'm sure he will. Over the next 2 days, Denise helped me unpack Claire's belongings. Marcus carried the boxes upstairs. I rehung the photographs Paige had removed. I returned the child-sized apron to a kitchen drawer. I did not call Paige again. Linda visited Saturday morning. She began crying when she saw the moving labels. I should have called you. Yes. I believed Paige because she sounded frightened. That was why it worked. She told us not to question you, and you obeyed. I thought confrontation might hurt you. Silence hurt me. She looked down. I am ashamed. I don't need shame. I need honesty. You have it. Did you ever see me become confused about money? Number. Did I ever call Logan by Claire's name? Never. Did you ever see me forget where I was? Number. Then why did you believe her? Linda took a long time to answer. Because she was your daughter. That was the center of it. Everyone assumed a daughter's concern had to be love. They did not ask whether love could become mixed with resentment, fear, greed, and entitlement, until almost nothing recognizable remained. By 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, my living room was full. Linda came first, then Claire's brother Robert and his wife, my cousins Janet and Susan, Paige's godmother Marlene, several nieces and nephews including Hannah. Marcus and Denise remained in the kitchen. Caleb waited nearby with his restaurant manager. Sergeant Daniels knew about the meeting and remained close, but I did not want police officers at the center of my family's reckoning. This was not primarily a legal dispute. It was a room full of people learning what their silence had allowed. Paige and Logan arrived 10 minutes late. Paige wore sunglasses and a loose gray sweater. Logan carried a leather folder. Even after the hospital, after entering my home, and after being questioned by police, he still brought papers. He believed he could finish what he started if he controlled the conversation. The moment Paige saw Claire's chair restored, she stopped walking. "You unpacked everything. It belongs here." Logan placed his folder on the dining room table. "Daniel, we agreed this would remain calm. We haven't started." He turned toward the relatives. "Thank you for coming. Paige and I know this is painful." His voice was gentle, tired, responsible. He kept the mask on. "This family has watched Daniel struggle for months. We hoped he would accept help voluntarily, but Friday night proved we can no longer wait." Hannah folded her arms. "What happened Friday?" Daniel became agitated at dinner. He knocked things over, accused us of wanting his money, and behaved unpredictably. Shortly afterward, Paige collapsed. "You told us Daniel poisoned Paige," Hannah said. "We're still trying to understand the sequence. You wrote it as fact." "This is emotional for everyone." Paige removed her sunglasses. "Please don't attack Logan. He has been trying to protect Dad." She looked pale and exhausted. The devoted daughter, the frightened caregiver, the role she had prepared. Logan opened his folder. "We have documented examples of Daniel's decline. Missed appointments, confusion about dates, leaving the stove on, increasing anger, suspicion regarding money, disappearing after the hospital, failing to answer the door during a wellness check." I raised one hand. "When was that wellness check?" "Early Saturday morning." "What time?" "Approximately 3:15. Several relatives exchanged looks. "What did you do after entering my house?" "I searched for you. In my bedroom. I checked every room. In Claire's desk. I was looking for emergency information. Under my mattress." His expression barely changed. The situation was urgent. His calmness was impressive. I turned on the television. The security footage appeared. Everyone watched Logan enter through the back door. He did not call my name. He checked the papers on the dining table. Then he hurried upstairs. "This footage has no context," he said. "Sit down," Robert told him. Logan looked toward Claire's brother. Robert was 71, a retired firefighter, and still broad enough to block the doorway by standing in it. Logan sat. I did not play the audio yet. Instead, I walked into the hallway and returned carrying the box. "Claire, donate." Paige's face changed. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "Who packed this?" No one answered. I opened the box and removed Claire's blue cardigan, then her gardening gloves, then the child-sized green apron. "Paige, assistant boss." Marlene began crying. I held the apron toward my daughter. "Do you remember this?" Paige stared at it. "Mom gave it to me." "How old were you?" 17. "You spent that summer working beside her." Paige nodded. "You packed it with the things to be thrown away." "I didn't know it was in there." "You labeled the box." Her mouth trembled. I lifted Claire's cardigan. "Tell everyone what you wrote." "Dad." "Read the label." She looked around the room. No one rescued her. "Claire, donate," she whispered. Louder. "Claire, donate." The words broke something open in the room. The family no longer saw a discussion about whether I needed help. They saw my daughter packing her dead mother into a cardboard box while preparing to remove me from the house we had shared. I placed the cardigan back inside. "You didn't just pack your mother's clothes, Paige. You packed my entire life while I was still living it." Logan leaned forward. "This is emotional manipulation." I looked at him. "You came into my home to discuss my mental condition. You do not get to object because my memories make your paperwork uncomfortable." Robert almost smiled. I displayed the family messages. "For 3 months, my daughter and her husband told you I was losing my memory." I turned toward Linda. "You were told I missed lunch." She nodded tearfully. "The date was changed." I looked toward Janet. "You were told I left my stove on." Janet lowered her eyes. Denise entered from the kitchen. I watched Paige turn on the burner. Everyone turned. I assumed it was accidental. Denise continued. Then she called people into the kitchen and acted as though Daniel had forgotten it. I stayed quiet because I did not want to cause a family argument. I am sorry. Paige's face crumpled. I looked around the room. Which of you personally saw me forget where I was? No one raised a hand. Which of you heard me call Logan by Claire's name? Silence. Which of you saw me behave violently? Silence again. You did not witness my decline. You witnessed Paige's fear and decided fear was evidence. Linda covered her face. Marlene looked down at the prepared social media announcement in her hands. You used the picture I took, she whispered. Paige closed her eyes. You asked me to photograph you with your father because you said you wanted something beautiful after Claire died. I did. You planned to use it to announce that he had dementia. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Paige could not answer. Logan remained calm. That proves nothing about Friday night. I looked at him. You're right. For the first time, uncertainty entered his expression. I played the recording. His voice filled the room. Where is the blue folder? Then Paige's weak voice. You said it wouldn't hurt him. Linda began crying. The recording continued. The room is already reserved. The movers come Monday. Tell the hospital your father was acting strangely. We'll say he gave you the medication. Logan stood. This is a private conversation. It was recorded inside my bedroom while you searched my house. He looked toward the door. Robert remained beside it. The final part played. You choose right now, Paige. My daughter's voice followed. I choose us. When the recording ended, the room became completely silent. Paige stared at the floor. Logan's face had lost color, but his voice remained controlled. A frightened woman said something under the influence of medication. That recording can be interpreted many ways. I opened the front door. Caleb and the restaurant manager entered. Caleb looked nervous, but he did not look away. I saw Mrs. Mercer empty the packet into Mr. Bennett's wine. Logan gave a quiet, almost pitying laugh. A waiter looking for attention. I reported it before your wife became sick. You're being paid. Number. The restaurant manager stepped forward. Caleb notified me immediately after the ambulance left. We preserved the footage and gave it to investigators. The footage does not show her hand, Logan said. It shows you pointing toward the river, Caleb replied. It shows Mr. Bennett looking away. It shows Mrs. Mercer leaning across the table. I saw the rest. Logan took one slow step toward him. You have inserted yourself into a family situation you do not understand. Robert stood straighter. That is close enough. Logan stopped. Paige looked at me. Dad, tell them I didn't know it was dangerous. You knew why you were using it. I thought you would sleep. You thought I would wake confused enough to sign this. I held up the single authorization page, then the Willow Creek brochure. They had already paid the deposit. A murmur moved through the family. Logan finally lost some of his calm. Daniel has more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes, while his own daughter is about to lose her home. That does not entitle you to mine. You do not need $9 million. You do not need a luxury truck. That is different. You do not need expensive vacations. That is different. You do not need my money. We are family. He said the word as though it settled everything. I looked at Paige. Does being family give you the right to drug me? Number. Does being my daughter give you the right to remove me from my home? Number. Does one missed childhood recital give you the right to take the rest of my life? Her answer came through tears. Number. Logan glared at her. Do not do this. Paige turned toward him. You said he would never know. Paige, you said we would fix everything before he understood. Stop talking. You gave me the packet. The calm mask cracked. You were the one who put it into the glass. You told me it was the only way. You agreed because you wanted the money. Paige recoiled. Logan turned toward the family. Do not pretend she was manipulated. She complained for years that her father cared more about employees than her. I did not rescue my daughter. She had been manipulated. She had also participated. Both were true. You told me we were protecting our future, Paige said. Our future. Logan laughed bitterly. You were the one who said the money belonged partly to you because your father missed your recital. Her face collapsed. The man she had chosen was using her deepest wound as evidence against her. Logan grabbed his folder. This conversation is over. Sergeant Daniels appeared in the open doorway. Another officer stood behind her. Logan stopped. You called the police to a family intervention. I called them after you entered my home and recorded yourself discussing how to accuse me of poisoning Paige. This is a misunderstanding. Sergeant Daniels stepped inside. Logan Mercer, we need you to come with us. My attorney will handle this. You can contact one from the station. You cannot arrest me because of a family argument. We are not here because of an argument. There was no judge, no dramatic courtroom, no complicated corporate conspiracy. Only two officers standing inside my living room. While Logan realized his own voice had exposed him, he looked at Paige. Tell them your father is unstable. Paige stared at the floor. Paige. She remained silent. The mask vanished. His face turned red. This family would be nothing without me. Robert gave a short laugh. You entered it carrying debt, and you're leaving with more. As the officers guided Logan toward the door, he turned toward me. You think you won. Number. You lost your daughter. The words struck exactly where he intended. You can keep the money, he continued. Keep the old house and the dead woman's clothes. Every time you sit alone in that chair, you'll remember Paige chose me. Paige began sobbing. I looked at him. She did. A small smile appeared on his face. But she is the one who must live with that choice, I said. Not me. The officers took him outside. Through the window, we watched him placed in the back of a police car. The street remained quiet. A neighbor stood beside her mailbox, pretending not to stare. When the vehicle disappeared, no one in the living room moved. Linda approached me first. I am sorry. Then Robert, Janet, Susan, Marlene. I listened. I did not say everything was fine. It was not. Their silence had helped Paige and Logan isolate me. Their desire to avoid family conflict had allowed the lie to grow. I forgive anyone who was honestly deceived, I said. But forgiveness does not erase what silence did. Hannah nodded. What do you need from us? The truth. Especially when the truth makes family uncomfortable. Paige remained on the couch. When everyone began leaving, she looked up. Can I stay? Number. Dad, you can stay with Aunt Linda. I need to speak with you alone. Number. Why? Because I no longer trust what happens when no one else is watching. Pain crossed her face. The words were not meant as punishment. They were simply true. What happens to me? She asked. That depends on what you do next. Are you cutting me off? Yes. Her expression hardened. So Logan was right. About what? You never planned to help us. I helped you for years. You know what I mean. The sale money. Number. I am your only child. You tried to take all of it. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting an appointment. You prepared my disappearance. I said I'm sorry. You have not. She stared at me. I'm sorry. For what? For everything. That is not enough. Her tears returned. I'm sorry I believed Logan. I'm sorry I put the medication into your wine. I'm sorry I told everyone you had dementia. I'm sorry I packed Mom's clothes. I'm sorry we tried to move you into Willow Creek. Why? I was scared. Of losing your home. Yes, so you chose mine. She covered her face. I love you. I believe part of you does. Only part. The part that remembers I am a person. The rest loved what I provided. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. I need time. How much? I don't know. Are you going to pay for an attorney? Not today. I could go to jail. You could. You can stop that. I spent your adult life stopping consequences before they reached you. Look where it brought us. Logan controlled me. He manipulated you. He frightened you. But he did not move your hand over my glass. Linda took Paige home. I watched from the porch as they drove away. I had always imagined losing my daughter would involve death, an illness, an accident, a terrible phone call. I had never imagined she could remain alive while the relationship between us died. That evening I sat in Claire's chair. You were right, I whispered. Imagining her answer did not comfort me, because I knew what she would have said. I wish I hadn't been. The following months did not feel victorious. Truth stopped the lie. It did not heal the injury. Logan's remodeling company collapsed. Several customers reported paying deposits for unfinished work. His truck was repossessed. The bank began foreclosure proceedings on the house he and Paige had fought so hard to protect. Paige cooperated with investigators. She admitted putting the medication into my wine. She admitted helping create the stories about my memory. She admitted packing my house and arranging Willow Creek. Because she cooperated, had no previous record, and had nearly died from the same medication, she remained out of jail while the case moved forward. She moved into Linda's spare bedroom. For the first time since college, she had no expensive house, no leased SUV, no husband directing her, and no father solving the next emergency. At first, every apology contained an explanation. Logan pressured her. The debt frightened her. She thought the drug was safe. She believed the papers were temporary. She believed Willow Creek was comfortable. Every explanation placed a cushion beneath her responsibility. I refused to provide one. One afternoon, she came to my house carrying Claire's pearl earrings. She placed them on the kitchen table. I don't deserve Mom's earrings. Number. She looked toward the living room. I'm sorry I packed her cardigan. You packed more than clothing. I know. Do you? I'm trying. That is not the same as changing. What do I need to do? She wanted a checklist. Therapy. A certain number of apologies. A job. A path back to inheritance. I did not give her one. You need to tell the truth when lying would be easier. For how long? For the rest of your life. And then you'll forgive me. I may forgive you before I ever trust you. What about the money? There is no money for you. Her face changed. Ever. If your first question after forgiveness is inheritance, you have answered yourself. She stood. How am I supposed to rebuild from nothing? The way your mother and I did. You had each other. You chose who you had. That is cruel. No. Cruel was deciding I no longer deserved my own home because yours was expensive. She left angry. I allowed her to leave. Dignity does not always look like defeating someone publicly. Sometimes it looks like refusing to purchase a loved one's return. I used part of the sale proceeds to establish emergency funds for long-time table and time employees. I secured the senior meal program for another decade. Then I created a small foundation in Claire's name. It provided meals transportation and basic home repairs for older adults who wanted to remain safely in their own homes. We called it Claire's Table. Its purpose was not revenge. It was the opposite of what Paige and Logan had tried to do to me. Help should allow people to stand on their own. It should not teach them to kneel. Caleb began working with the foundation part-time while completing his social work degree. When I offered to pay his remaining tuition, he declined. I didn't warn you for money. I know. Then don't turn it into a transaction. He reminded me of Claire, not because they were alike, because both believed dignity mattered even when no one was watching. 6 months passed. Paige found work at a grocery store. At first, she worked at the customer service desk. Later, she transferred to the prepared food section because the smell of soup reminded her of table and time. She earned less in 1 week than she had once spent during a weekend trip. She sold most of her designer clothes. She took the bus after returning her leased SUV. She attended therapy and a support group for people leaving controlling relationships. Logan had been controlling. That did not erase Paige's choices. A person can be manipulated and responsible at the same time. She wrote letters to every relative, correcting the lies she had told. Dad did not forget our lunch. I changed the date. Dad did not leave the stove on. Dad never called Logan by Mom's name. Dad was not wandering after the hospital. I helped create a false story about his memory because I wanted access to his money. She did not ask anyone to forgive her. Telling the truth after exposure was not heroism, but it was the first honest thing she had done without being forced. One spring afternoon, Paige asked to meet me at a public park. We sat near a playground where Claire and I had taken her as a child. You were afraid of that tall slide, I said. Mom climbed it with me. She got stuck. For a moment, we both laughed. Then the silence returned. I hate Logan, she said. That may change. I hate myself more. That needs to change too. How can you say that? Because self-hatred is not accountability. Sometimes it is another way to remain focused entirely on your own pain. My therapist said something similar. Your therapist sounds sensible. She folded her hands. I thought being your daughter meant I would always be safe. You were safe. I mean safe from consequences. That is different. You always rescued me. I know. Every time you did, I became more certain I didn't have to solve anything myself. That truth hurt me too. I had not created her greed, but I had repeatedly softened consequences that might have forced her to grow earlier. Love without boundaries had not saved my daughter. It had helped her remain dependent. I am sorry for that, I said. She looked surprised. You're apologizing to me for confusing rescue with love, for giving you money when I should have allowed you to solve your own problems. Tears filled her eyes. I miss you. I miss who I believed you were. Was she ever real? Yes. Where did she go? People are rarely one thing. You were the little girl who hid notes inside my lunchbox. You were also the woman who packed your mother's cardigan into a donation box. Both are true. How do I become the first person again? You don't. Her expression fell. You become someone new who understands what the second person was capable of. Before we left, she handed me a bank statement. I saved $500. That is good. I wanted to start paying you back. You owe me more than money. I know. Keep it. Build an emergency fund. She nodded. For the first time in years, she accepted financial advice without asking what I would contribute. Late that summer, I visited the grocery store where she worked. I did not tell her I was coming. She stood behind the prepared food counter wearing a green apron and hairnet. An elderly customer was asking whether the chicken soup contained too much sodium. Paige did not rush her. She explained the ingredients, found another option, and walked around the counter to place it into the woman's cart. Then she saw me. Dad. Hello, Paige. Her supervisor smiled. Your daughter is one of my best employees. Paige looked embarrassed. She only says that because I clean the slicer no one else wants to touch. That is one reason, the supervisor replied. I purchased 2 containers of soup. Paige rang them up. She did not offer to pay. She did not ask whether I had reconsidered the inheritance. She handed me the receipt. As I turned away, she called after me. Dad. Yes. Would you have coffee with me sometime? There was no assumption in her voice. No performance. Only a question. Next Thursday. 10 in the morning. Her eyes filled. I'll be there. Do not change the date. A sad smile crossed her face. I won't. We began meeting once a month. Trust did not return through one dramatic apology. It returned in small pieces. Paige arrived on time. She told the truth when the truth made her look bad. She stopped asking for money. She did not photograph our meetings or post them online. Nearly a year after the dinner, she called and asked whether she could visit the bungalow. I did not answer immediately. Some mornings I still remembered her hand moving over my wine so clearly that I could not answer her calls. Healing is not a straight road. Neither is trust. You can come Saturday, I finally said. At 3. I'll be there. Do not arrive early. I won't. On Saturday afternoon, I sat beneath the maple tree in the backyard. Helicopter seeds covered the grass. Claire had threatened to cut that tree down every spring for 30 years. She never did. Marcus and Caleb were carrying supplies into the garage for a foundation event. Denise and Linda argued over whether the potato salad needed more mustard. At exactly 3, Paige appeared at the back gate. She wore jeans, inexpensive sneakers, and the green apron from the grocery store kitchen folded over one arm. I had mailed it to her several weeks earlier. Not the childhood apron, her new one. She placed one hand on the latch. Then she stopped. For most of her life, Paige had entered that yard without knocking. She had once believed being my daughter gave her permanent access to my home, my money, my forgiveness, and every part of me she might need. Now she waited. She did not call out. She did not assume. She looked toward me and asked, "May I come in?" I studied her face. I did not see only the little girl she had been. I did not see only the woman who had betrayed me. I saw someone standing between those two people, finally understanding what she was capable of becoming. I nodded. Paige opened the gate. That was not complete forgiveness. It was not restored trust. It was not a promise of inheritance. It was one small permission, one step, and for the first time in a year, it was enough. I once believed legacy meant leaving behind something valuable. a company, a home, a cabin, money, but those are only the easiest parts of a legacy to count. The harder inheritance is how people learn to treat one another. Claire left me courage through warnings I had been too lonely to hear. Caleb showed me integrity without expecting a reward. My relatives learned that polite silence can help cruelty grow. Paige learned that being loved does not protect a person from the consequences of betrayal. And I learned that protecting myself did not make me a cruel father. It made me a whole person. I did not win because Logan was arrested. I won when I stopped begging the people closest to me to recognize my value. I won when I returned Claire's chair to its place. I won when I changed the locks. And I won when I understood that family does not mean unlimited access to someone's life. So tell me honestly, would you ever let Paige back through that gate, or would the moment she touched the wine have ended the relationship forever?